Hey everyone, it's Emily. So today I thought I would record a video about the 3 books I've read this year. Yes, only 3. I will explain why. But I thought I would record a video about the 3 books I've read this year because I just feel like they've been so bad and I just have to talk about them. I need to get it off my chest. And I've posted about them on Instagram and I just feel like it's not enough. I need to have a good kind of chat about them. So earlier this year, me and my friends were talking about how we don't catch up as much as we should and how we should be we should do something to motivate us to catch up and hang out more than what we were, because we've all just, we started working full time and stuff like that. And then the virus kicked in, so things just got really hard. But we decided that we would start a book club. And I kind of went into it thinking, all me and my friends, these are my closest friends that I went to high school with. And I was like, yeah, this sounds great. We all pretty much have the same taste in books. We all have things that we like. Maybe you like more romance than what I do and you like more crime than what I do, but it should even itself out and we should be okay. It has not been okay. We've so far done 3 of the 4 books that we will be doing. And the first 3 books were so bad. And I'm not blaming their choices. I think it is just me. I'm just in such a huge reading slump that I don't think it was the best idea for me to go into a book club where I wasn't choosing all of the books. But even in saying that, the book that I chose was my least favorite of all of the books that we've read so far, which is just the 3. But yeah, we will get into that. So I can only find 2 of the physical books, and I think it's because the other one I hated so much. I've hidden it somewhere in my bookshelf and I just can't be arsed digging through my whole bookshelf to try and find it, but I will pop it up on the screen. I also want to apologize for the quality of the video. This was a really spur of the moment video. I ended up deciding to work from home today and I finished my regular day job stuff, so I thought, fuck it, I'll just slap on a face and record a video. And I didn't make sure that my camera battery was charged, and I honestly, to be completely honest, could not be fucked setting up my camera because it truly is a pain in the ass. So we're having shitty webcam again. I'm sorry, but it's what we have at the moment. It's what I can be bothered doing. So the reason that I've only read the 3 books is because one of the books took me so fucking long to end up DNFing that I wasted 2 or 3 months of the book club time. And also coronavirus happened, so got distracted. I am a ridiculously slow reader. I don't have the perfect reading conditions, and if the book is really not a 5-star for me, I read at literal snail's pace. A snail crawling across the page is how slow I read books that I don't want to read. So obviously, me not liking these 3 books, it's taken me a long time to get through them. Because I've been focusing on finishing the books from my book club, I haven't been reading anything else from my TBR. So I literally have only been reading books that I don't like. Previously, before the book club, the last 2 years, every single book I've read, I have not liked. So I'm now going into my 3rd year of not reading a good book. So I'm just feeling very drained. I am feeling like I fucking want to give up on reading, to be honest. But I like reading so much. I just can't find good books. Anyway, I've blabbed on about this for too long. So the first book that we read for our book club, which if you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen my rants about it a few months ago. I don't have it with me, but I'll pop it up here. It was The Vanishing by Astrid. I hated this book so much. I am all for kind of speculative fiction, and I liked dystopian novels when I was younger. And this was kind of like a weird dystopian sci-fi, like I would put it in sci-fi, not fantasy genre. So putting it in sci-fi means that there is a lot wrong with that book. Not a lot of it makes sense. But basically it's like Waterworld. So the world is flooded because some scientist made a mistake and blew up a polar ice cap, and the world flooded. And now there's just kind of like man-made giant like platoon type things where the human race is living on, and the occasional mountain, well, I'm assuming it's mountaintops, but you know, occasional bits of land where there is civilizations and stuff. So it's very kind of Waterworld techie. There's, you know, pirates and whatever. So the main plot, and I'm doing this completely off the top of my head, I don't have the book on me and I can't be bothered looking it up. But the main plot is that the main character, her parents disappeared, or they assume that they died in an accident or something. And then, so the main character's sister dies a few years later, and they live near this science lab that has the ability to bring people back to life for 24 hours using this magical coral that's started growing everywhere that, I don't know, somehow brings them back to life. It's not really explained. Yeah, she wants to bring her sister back to life for reasons, and she brings her back to life, and her sister ends up telling her that their parents are still alive, and they go on this journey across the sea to try and find their family and figure out what's going on and blah 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 blah. So my first issue with that book was that the magical coral thing is never explained. It's never explained why they don't freeze if I'm assuming the sea levels have risen, so they are up higher, so it would be higher in the atmosphere, so they would be colder. I don't know, it doesn't explain that. There's a lot of things about them having power and stuff, using wind turbines, solar panels, and water turbines. Water turbines only work if there is a really strong water current. That's why you get them on dams where they're literally forcing a current. So I don't understand how the water turbines would make much energy. And then if the land is flooded and there's no trees, like they say multiple times there's no trees, there would be no wind. So the wind turbines would be doing nothing. And then the solar panels solar panels don't generate that much electricity, really. So it makes no sense that they have power at the end of the day. And also, like, where did they get the technology from it? They kind of say that, oh, they pulled it up from the bottom of the ocean, blah, 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 blah. But it's salt water, so any metal would deteriorate over time in the salt water. So I also forgot to mention that the only reason that the main character can afford to bring her sister back is because she found a fully living plant, which is very rare in this world because obviously the most of the land is under the water. So she found this fully living plant submerged in the ocean. Just a regular old plant submerged in salt water. Plants don't survive in salt water. So, like, it's just, there would be rust, there would be, and it just, the whole kind of thing just makes no sense. The whole bringing people back to life with this magic coral kind of doesn't make sense. So this science lab that can bring people back to life using this magical coral, which is never explained how they are able to do that, keep the bodies for, I think it's a year, in like tanks, and then they bring them out, they resurrect them for 24 hours, and then they have to go back, they die again, and then that's it. It's their final kind of death, and then they dispose of the body. Like, because they say that they keep them in tanks with the coral and that preserves the body. But again, it's never explained how. If this magical coral is growing under the ocean and they're, I don't know, somehow drinking the water or filtering the water or whatever, why aren't they just eating this fucking magic coral and like making themselves immortal or invincible or something? Like, I don't know. It just, the whole kind of coral thing didn't make sense. And I get it if it was like a fantasy thing, but there's so much science fiction stuff in there that I didn't want to put it in a fantasy world. And then also, like, there's just no explanation for it. It's just magical coral. It just came about after the world was destroyed. This magic coral just started growing everywhere, and it has all these magical properties, and no one wanted to question it. They just use it, and that's it. And there was some weird, like, kind of short little love story between two characters, and then that character turned out to be, like, dead, and he'd been resurrected. I don't know. It was kind of all over the place, and there was no real payoff at the end. There was no real kind of villain. I said before that they had pirates in this world. The pirates I was excited about. I thought they would be a big part of the story because it was a huge kind of sea voyage type thing. So I was expecting pirates to be, coming out and messing shit up. And then the pirates were in it for about 5 seconds, and then they just never came back again. Or when they did come back, they just were defeated easily. And then it just ended. And people were just... It's really hard to explain it when I don't have the book with me, and it's been a while since I've read it. But it was just not good. But that was the first book. Honestly, read some reviews on Goodreads for it. There's a lot of reviews there that say exactly the same thing that I felt when reading the book. Yeah, I just didn't enjoy it. The next one I do have with me, and if you follow me on Instagram, you have definitely seen me talk about this book because I lost my shit over this book. So this is House of Earth and Blood, or Crescent City, by Sarah J. Maas. I will probably do a longer video about this book because I can. But basically this is Sarah J. Maas's third series. So I have also, you can see them over there behind Beast. I have read the whole ACOTAR series, or A Court of Thorns and Roses series, and I've read the whole of Throne of Glass series. I liked ACOTAR more than Throne of Glass. Throne of Glass I liked up until the last book. The last book was absolute shite. This book, as you can tell from where my bookmark is, I didn't finish it. I DNF'd this book so fucking hard. Like, this took me 3 months to read, 300 pages? Yeah, not even 300 pages, and that took me 3 months to read because I just could not do it. It was driving me absolutely bonkers. So yeah, this book literally drove me to insanity. It's been mentioned in every single live stream I've been in. We have talked about my good friend Sarah J. Maas because this book fucked me up, man. I was like, you have no idea the level of excitement I had for this book when I heard that it was coming out. When I heard it was so long, I was like, fuck yes, this is gonna be amazing. I'm gonna love it so much. Then I read Kingdom of Ash, and I was like, fuck, I'm probably not gonna like Crescent City. And I was like, nah, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. Like, Court of Thorns and Roses was so good, it was my shit, I'm probably gonna really like it. So I'll read you the synopsis because I can for this. Bryce Quinlan used to light up Crescent City, partying all night in the clubs where the strict classes of angel, shifter, human, and fae merge into a sea of beautiful bodies. And then a demon murdered her closest friends. 2 years later, when the supposed killer is behind bars, but the crimes start up again, the city's leaders command Bryce to help investigate. They assign an enslaved fallen angel, Hunt Athalar, to make sure she does. But as Bryce fights to uncover the truth and resist her attraction to the brooding angel who shadows her every step, she finds herself following a trail that leads deep into her own dark past. So, from there, we understand that Bryce wants to fuck the angel guy, Hunt. Her friends are dead, they get murdered by a demon. The guy they think did it is behind bars, so it makes no sense he wouldn't have done it. And there's more fae. So, if you haven't read any Sarah J. Maas books, she has 8 book series called Throne of Glass, where the main character is half fae. She has the Court of Thorns A Court of Thorns and Roses series, which is 3 books, 4 including a novella or short little novel thing, and more spin-offs of that to come, which is about a human who gets turned into a fae and then a whole fae realm. So she really likes her fae. The main character in this is half fae, again with the fae. It's fine, I don't mind. I can read about fae, it's all cool, whatever. The demon that murdered her friends thing, so we already know that's going to happen through the blurb, but Sarah thought it was a good idea to have a 90-page fucking introduction to this book that introduces all of those friends and then has their death and then 500 pages more of bullshit until you actually figure out what's happened. I can't. And then I'm like, 300 pages in, almost 300 pages in, and there has been no relationship development between Bryce and the angel guy, which supposedly she's resisting her attraction to the brooding angel. There is no fucking attraction. If there is an attraction to this, it's purely physical, because that's all they do in this whole book. Every single character in this book is ridiculously over-sexualized. And, look, I am no prude. I don't fucking care. But it was a lot. It was I could see his bulge through his pants, every 2 seconds. And I was just calm the fuck down. If you want to fuck, just fuck. Do it. Jesus. But honestly, this book, so this is her first adult book. This read no different to her YA series at all. The writing style hadn't changed. The characterization hadn't changed. Literally everything was exactly the same, except they talked more openly about drugs. They talked more openly about sex, and there's swearing. That's basically the difference, but it felt like I was reading a YA book still, so I was just not really sure what was going on. And then I guess the main character kind of gets around a bit, she hooks up with random people in club toilets and crap, but yeah, I don't know, it was just very weird. And the narrator in the book, so it's meant to be third person, but the narration style in the book was very conversational. It sounded like it was literally someone telling you the story, not you're reading a third person thing. It's someone is in the scene there, oh yeah, and then Bryce did this, and oh my god, this guy's a fucking asshole. That's literally how it reads. I don't know if I'm explaining that very well, but when the third person narration is openly going, this person's a fucking asshole, I swear there is a line in the book that's like that from the narration. It's what is going on right now? What? It annoyed me because I liked Throne of Glass so much, and that was third person narration, and then A Court of Thorns and Roses was first person, and I feel like she did the two very well. They felt different. There was a different kind of writing style to it. It felt like they were two different series. This book, however, is she couldn't decide if she wanted it to be first person or third person. And then the publisher was like, oh wait, you've already done first person. Your last series was first person. You should do third person again. So she was like, okay, well, I'll just change things so that it sounds like it's third person, but whatever. I don't know if I'm explaining this right. I feel like I'm just rambling, but it reads like it was meant to be a first person narrator, but it's third person. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't fucking know. Like I said, this book fucking broke my brain. I can't even talk about it without having some kind of breakdown. So I was reading it and I was kind of I'm really bored. I don't want to read this. I ended up DNFing it, which I have never done. I can force myself to read a bad book, but I had to put this down because I was literally just, every time I read it, I was just so angry. But yeah, so while I was reading it, I like trying to figure out what's going to happen before it happens, and I really kind of mull things over and try and figure out the book before I get to the end. There's just Sarah kind of does it in all of her books, And I was kind of like, oh no, she'll do this one differently, like it won't be as obvious. But she'll kind of give away the ending at the start of the book, but make you think that it couldn't happen, if that makes sense. So she did that with this one. And I was like, no. This is like a weird suspense thriller thing. She's not going to do the same thing. She won't make it that obvious. She did make it that obvious. When I DNF'd it officially, I went and read some reviews. This book has not had the best reviews, to be honest. It's had pretty bad reviews. So I went back and I read the reviews and spoiled the ending for myself, but it didn't fucking matter because it was exactly what I thought was going to happen. Like, from reading the first, 2 chapters, I figured out the whole plot of this book. And I feel like when you're writing a suspense thriller, urban, paranormal, fucking weird, whatever the fuck this book is, thing, it shouldn't be that easy. And it just... I'm done with this book now. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Actually, no, one more thing is the amount of info dumping. And when I say there's a lot of info dumping, I mean there's 5 run-on pages of world building that you don't need to know. It feels like she was like, I need to get all this world building in. I don't want to write it throughout the whole series. So fucking have it all now. And then I don't have to talk about it again in the rest of the books. So I might try and force myself to skim through this, and then maybe I'll read the second book. And I feel like the second book might be a bit better. But yeah, I'm definitely going to make a more in-depth video about this book. But fuck me, I just can't talk about it right now because I just want to keep getting angrier and talk about it. So the next book that we read was The Nowhere Child by Christian White. And as you can see, this book has a lot of kind of awards, was nominated for a lot of awards. So I went into this thinking, it's not my normal genre, but maybe it'll be really good because it has all these awards and everything. So this is a suspense, thriller, crime thing. I never know how to describe these books. But basically, I'll read the blurb for you. On a break between teaching photography classes in Melbourne, Kim Leamy is approached by a stranger investigating the disappearance of a little girl from her Kentucky home 28 years earlier. He believes Kim is that girl. At first she brushes it off, but when Kim scratches the surface of her family history in Australia, questions arise that aren't easily answered. To find the truth, she must travel to Sammy's home of Mason, Kentucky, and into a dark past. As the mystery of Sammy's disappearance unravels, the town's secrets are revealed. This superb novel builds towards an electrifying climax. I hated this book. It's not that long, but again, I just made the cutoff for this book. So we give ourselves a month to read these books and then we get together and we talk about them. So I just finished this with a week to spare, and oh lordy, did I not like this book. So basically, as you can tell from the blurb, so this guy finds Kim while she's on a break from teaching photography, and he just approaches her in the middle of the cafeteria of the TAFE, and he sits down with her and he's like, look, I'm investigating this thing, and I believe from my investigation that you are this missing child, blah, 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 blah. And this fucking 30-year-old woman is just like, yeah, I'd believe that. Yeah, I could be that missing child. I'm the same age. I have brown hair. Fucking yeah, let's go. Let's talk about this. I'm just like, what? She doesn't think that she's adopted. She thinks that her mother in Australia is her birth mother. She thinks that she came out of that woman that she believes to be her birth mother, and then she has a stepdad, and she's just like, this random guy from America just comes and is like, hey, that woman that you think is your birth mother isn't your birth mother. And then without thinking, I should probably look into that a little bit more, she's just like, fucking yeah, I believe you. Whoa, I guess I am adopted or something. And it's like, really? You're not going to think this guy's insane? You're not going to be like, maybe I should talk to my stepdad about this and be like, hey, am I adopted? Or, you know, like she just totally just went straight from, this is my mother, blah, 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 to she kidnapped me. I'm a kidnapped child. And it's like, where did that come from? Like, have you questioned your mother before about whether or not you were adopted or you came out of her? Like, I don't understand. Like, it just goes so fast from, like, oh, my mother died a few months ago from cancer, blah, 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 and I loved her so much, to she fucking kidnapped me. Like, I don't... And then her, like, shitty stepdad just, like, won't tell her what happened when she questions him about it. She's like, hey, this guy came up to me and asked me if I was, his kidnapped sister. And, like, am I? And he's just like, I promised your mother I would never tell. It's like, you can't fucking say that. And honestly, if he just told her the truth, she probably would have been like, that's fine, I won't tell anyone. It just, and the writing honestly was nothing special. I feel like this could have been written by a teenager for a school assignment. I'm really ripping into these books, hey, but like, it was so boring and there was so much in this that didn't need to be in it. Like, this book could easily have been 100 pages shorter and it still would have told the same story. And there was just so many cliches that just, like, so the whole, like, family secret thing is that her family in America is part of this crazy Christian religion, which I know these religions do exist, or these churches do exist, which is fucking nuts. But so her parents, her birth parents, are part of this, or mainly her mother, is part of this Christian church where they believe that snakes and scorpions and shit are, like, I don't know, holy whatever, and they let the snakes, poisonous snakes, bite them, and if they don't get bitten, like if they don't get poisoned, then, you know, God wants them to live, and if they get bitten and they get poisoned, God wants them to die, and they, you know, drink poison and have weird fucking trips and speak in tongues, and it's one of those crazy weird ones. So the mother is really into this church, and it just, so you have the crazy religious mother, you have the father who's hiding that he has a gay lover, and the reason that he left the church is because he's gay and couldn't handle being around the church anymore, and blah blah blah. And then you've got the teenage daughter who's experimenting with drugs, being a bit of a rebel, is jealous of her little sister and how much attention she gets. And then the little brother who plays video games and sits around and does nothing because he's a little boy and that's what boys do. And then, you know, the cheeky toddler that gets kidnapped and everyone's heartbroken and the whole town goes nuts. And then you have, you know, the sheriff who can't get a date, and somehow through the story he finds a date and is going on the date, but then he, you know, something happens and he doesn't make it to the date, and there's your classic just redneck American family at the end of the street who's racist and shitty, and all of the kids have gone to jail and they're alcoholics and blah blah blah. And it was just like, you couldn't be a little more creative? Like, really? Why have the crazy religious mother and then the closet gay dad, and the, like, it was just so much of things I've already seen in books, in movies, in TV shows. Like, it's just so cliche and frustrating. And the twist at the end, so I usually, like, books like this, like, I figure out the twist in, like, the first couple chapters. I don't know why. I don't feel like I'm particularly intelligent or anything, and I pick it up really easily. I I don't know, I just managed to always figure it out. I don't really watch a lot of crime shows or, kind of thriller movies because I always figure out what happens and I just get bored. So I thought I'd figured out this one, and then there was a twist at the end that I didn't get, but I didn't get it because the author made it seem like it was impossible, and I hate it when they use that as a twist. That doesn't make it a twist. That's you purposefully hiding information from the readers to make it seem like you were really smart and had this special twist. So if you don't want the ending of this book spoiled for you, stop watching now because I'm gonna get into it. So the mother clearly is struggling with PND or postnatal depression, and she's expresses this to the church that she's having issues. She's feeling, malicious feelings towards her child. She doesn't like the baby. She doesn't want to be around the baby, blah, 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 blah. And they go, well, it's not you. Clearly, the baby is possessed because you had her with your husband who we have previously performed an exorcism on because he was, sinning and whatever, bullshit. So then she believes that the child is possessed by the devil, and she organizes with the church to do this reconditioning or an exorcism on the child. The reverend of the church's sister hears about this. She had also been previously reconditioned or exorcised because she was a bit of a rebel, and she ended up getting pregnant outside of wedlock and whatever. So they did this reconditioning thing on her, and she ended up miscarrying the baby. So she didn't want the toddler to go through the reconditioning or exorcism like she did because it would kill the fucking toddler. And she knew that would happen, and the church probably knew that would happen, and they were like, well, if she has to die, it's because God wills it, because they're fucking idiots. And so she just drives past the house to try and convince the mother to not do the ceremony, to seek help to seek help from somewhere else. And as she's driving up the street, the toddler has been let out of the house, and she just picks her up and drives away with her, inciting the whole the kid has been kidnapped, blah, 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 blah. So for a little while in the book, you kind of think that, you don't find that out until the very kind of end of the book, that is what actually happened. But just throughout the book, you kind of pick things up and you're like, oh, okay, well, this is what happened. So I kind of had a feeling that it was someone from the church had saved the child because the mother wanted to do something, or someone knew that something was happening with the church. I just didn't know what character it would be. And then that character was introduced as having a relationship with the brother of the dad's lover. You find out that they are having a relationship, and yeah, so when it comes out that she's kidnapped, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, when it comes out that that's what's happened there, then I kind of figured out that, they did it together, and that's who the chick thought her mother was. It was this reverend's daughter, or reverend's sister, and this criminal guy. But the story that Kim knows about her mother is that her mother lived in Sydney or something. I can't exactly remember the start of the book, but she basically says that she had Kim with a past relationship that was abusive. She left that relationship, met the stepdad, and then had their second daughter, or her second daughter, with him, and that's Kim's half-sister Amy, and, they lived on happily ever after, blah, blah, blah. So as the story goes on, you find out that the reverend's sister is actually killed before she leaves America. So that's not her mother, even though she's kind of told at one point that they have the same scar on the same hand. Once she looks at a photo of the actual sister, she finds out that the scar is on the opposite hand to where her mother had the same scar. And I'm just like, what are the chances after the sister is killed, her boyfriend, who is the brother of the dad's lover, takes the baby and, like, she tells him, like, you know, take the kid and leave. Like, if anything happens to me, just fucking go, get her out of here because the church is crazy. And he does that. He takes the baby and moves to Australia and starts a new life. Because then he meets a girl in Australia and eventually tells her the truth about how he has this girl that this woman just thinks is his daughter. He eventually tells her the truth that he kind of kidnapped her from a crazy family that wanted to do some weird religious ceremony on her, whatever. And then she agrees to keep that secret and says, I'll come up with this random backstory so that you don't have to worry about anything. We'll just pretend that she's my biological daughter, that I had a past relationship and left them, and then I met you, and then we got together and blah, blah, blah. And then it just so happens that fake biological mum has the same scar as kidnapper Reverend's daughter woman, just on the opposite hand. So one of them had a scar on this hand in this spot, and the other one had a scar on this hand in this spot. And it was just like, what are the chances that this guy would just stumble upon someone in another country that has exactly the same scar as his dead girlfriend? Like, what are the chances of that? What kind of world is that a coincidence in? Like, it was just... But, like, that's the twist, is that it was that she died and he found this other girl in Australia who decided to then just, like, take over the whole story and, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like, it just... That's not a twist. That's you withholding information from the reader to kind of come across as you've had this amazing twist. I don't know. It just annoyed me. Maybe that is a good twist. I'm not sure. Like I said, I don't read this genre very often, but it just frustrated me more than made me go, oh my god, that's so amazing. It was like, are you fucking kidding me? And like, because there's just no hint at all that character dies or that the brother is the one that survives with the child. Like, there's nothing to lead you to that. And I feel like the whole premise of these books is that you're trying, as you're reading, you're trying to figure out what's happening. You're trying to figure out who's the bad guy, who's the kidnapper, who's the this. And when the book doesn't allow you to do that, it's not satisfying. And that is what I feel like these books are meant for. They're meant to be satisfying. You're meant to figure it out and be like, I'm a fucking genius. But you can't do that when the author is coming up with some weird fucking shit like that, you know? It just really bugged me. But again, I just didn't enjoy the book in general. I just found it really frustrating, really boring. There was so much stuff in here that just really, really didn't matter. So that's what's been happening at the moment with me. I'm just reading a lot of bad books right now, and I'm getting very frustrated, and I just needed to let this out. Let me know if you have any varying opinions to me about these books in the comments. Feel free to blast my head off if you love these books and tell me I'm wrong. Honestly, I would love to have an argument. So I'm hoping that the next book is good. The next book that we're reading, I'll post the cover just here. It is The Things She Owned, I think is what it's called, or The Owned Things, I think. And it's about a woman in London whose mother dies, and she must be like going through her things, and she finds some stuff and interesting things about her family history. So she goes back to Japan, to Okinawa, to find out about her mother's and her family's history, because her mother moved from Okinawa after World War II to London. I don't know. It sounds interesting. I love Japan and Japanese history and anything and everything to do with Japan. So I am personally excited to read that because I feel like I may actually like it. And I'm hoping it's an upswing for the book club, but who knows at this point. I'm also currently reading because I just needed something. I needed something that I thought was going to be good, that's usually tried and true good, but we'll see. So I just pulled out Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. I have read pretty much the rest of Cassandra Clare's stuff except for the Dark Artifices. That's the only series of Cassandra Clare's that I haven't finished, that I haven't really liked. But this one being a follow-on from the Infernal Devices, I feel like will be good because Infernal Devices is probably my favorite series. Because it's historical, this is set in the early 1900s, I think, and Infernal Devices was set in the Victorian era. So they kind of have that historical fiction element to them with the added little sprinkle of fantasy. Yeah, I'm hoping this is good. I'm expecting good because I've heard that it's very good. But I needed something to really get me out of my lull, because I feel like reading bad writing is making me not want to write. And that is not good. So I'm trying to read Unnatural Magic by C.M. Wagner as well. This sounds really interesting. I just got this from the fantasy section. I fell in love with the cover, and the blurb of this sounds really interesting as well. I highly recommend searching it. It sounds like it'll be an interesting twist on a lot of fantasy creatures, like trolls being more kind of humanoid. Like, I'm assuming the trolls would be more like orcs. And I'm super into that. I'm really interested in how this will go. I haven't read too much of it, like I've just read the introduction, I think. But I really want to try and get these read because they sound really interesting. And I'm meant to be starting my new book club book this weekend. I'm getting the ebook version from my library. So I'll probably start reading that then. So I'm going to try and read as much of this as I can. But it shouldn't take me too long because I know Cassandra Clare's style of writing. I know that I like it. And I know that I can read it quite quickly. So this one shouldn't take me too long. This one probably will be after my book club book if I finish my book club book quickly, or I might read it intermittently between that. But again, I am a slow reader, so don't expect a whole heap of like booktube or book related videos on my channel because I read very slowly, so they're going to be very few and far between. But I want to talk about books and stories. And eventually I'm going to be talking about movies and TV shows and just basically any form of storytelling I can. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's a bit rambly and a bit ranty, but I mean, that's me, so. But if you did like it, please like this video, subscribe if you would like to see more. I do live writing sprints every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. West Australian time here on my channel. I would love for you to join if you are interested. So yeah, that's that. I would love it if you wanted to stick around more. Let me know what you think about any of these books if you've read them. Let me know if you think I'm wrong about any of them. I would love to know. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you in my next one. Bye.